Ladies of Reddit, what's the furthest you've gone or see someone go at a bachelorette or similar party? NSFW. A family friend had his bachelor party the same night his fiancée had her bachelorette party. 2 weeks before the wedding. Around midnight. The two parties met up and everyone parties together. The best man keeps buying shots for the groom-to-be, who gets falling down drunk. The bride-to-be gets upset and worried. So the best man drives the two of them home. My friend passes out on his couch. Wakes up at sunrise to find his bride-to-be and best man having sex in his bed. The next time I saw him, I told him he was so lucky that happened. He gave me a startled look. I explained, "This could have happened after you married her." I was in Atlantic City and saw a bachelorette party stumbling around the casinos. The bride, identifiable because she was wearing a sash that said bride-to-be, walked up to this random guy, grabbed his face, and shoved her tongue down his throat. All of her friends cheered her on and then they all stumbled away. I feel horrible for the poor bastard she married. I worked in a bar for 3 years. Not a bartender but was in charge of stock. We had a private bachelorette party, rent out the place one night, who requested male staff only. And then paid to have every single one of us strip for them. Yes. Even the ugly ones, myself included. It's not that far really, but I used to do private cocktail bartending at events and did quite a few bachelorette parties. As well as standard bartending, our company also offered shirtless ones. Often the ladies found this out when we were already there, and a few times I was persuaded to take my shirt off, because it more than doubled my hourly pay. So many times I had the bride other girls take my shirt off and do a lot of body shots off me, tequila on the abs, salt on neck, lemon in the mouth kind of thing. TLDR, been licked by a lot of strange women. We got a strip off for my best friend's bachelorette a few years ago. He wasn't my type and it was mainly just funny to most of us. But then he offered private viewings. One of our crazy friends decided to go for it and ended up hooking up with the guy in the bathroom. I think she gave him an extra tip for that. My friend works behind the bar at a venue that regularly does bachelorette parties. She told me about this one time where they had a gang of women who were really rowdy and wild. They started getting more and more wasted, blah blah yada yada, tree fitty Loch Ness monster. There. That's it. We've done the Loch Ness monster thing. Now we can move on to the real stories. My friend is going to a bachelorette party in a few weeks. They asked me if I could drive them around in a bus for the day. I'll be the only male there. After reading this thread I'm now scared and excited, but mostly scared. Not a lady, but damn if I want to tell my story. Was at a club at the beach. Had a live band playing. Got a tap on my shoulder and there were 3 or 4 really cute girls behind me. First one says, "My friend needs to kiss you." Shrug, sure. We kiss. I introduced to friends. We party the rest of the night with these girls. Find out it's a bachelorette party, and the entire incident occurred because they were playing some bachelorette truth or dare card game. She was dared to kiss a bald man. Score 1 for the baldies. Bride-to-be tried to hook up with me on a dance floor at a club. I declined. One of the finer things I have done. Good for you. This is the reason not to marry these cheating sleuths. Till how the US keeps its divorce rate down to 50%. A bunch of girlfriends and myself took one of our moms out for her 50th. We went to the male peelers. There was a bachelorette party in Pervert Row. The bride-to-be, she had a veil on, blew the first guy out. Right on stage. I'd be really upset if my fiancée did this. She wouldn't be my fiancée much longer if she did this. I was at a Red Sox game where the pitcher was 1 inning from a no-hitter. The ladies of this bachelorette party had no idea what the duck was going on. And when the figured out decided to start screaming all about it. He gave up a single the next out. I was ducking pissed. That's truly the most unacceptable thing in this thread. Not the furthest, but the best thing I've ever seen. I walk into a bar and was stopped by a woman who say, "Oh my god. You're perfect. This never happens to me." So I'm skeptical. The woman then says, "See, it is my friend's bachelorette party." She then points to her friend who is wearing a veil and drinking fruity drinks with a bunch of other women. They all wave at me. She then continues, "You are exactly her type." She then shows me a series of index card. Blonde, yep. Blue eyes, yep. Blue jeans, yep. White t-shirt, yep. I then concede that I must be her type. The woman continues, "Look, nothing crazy. She just wants a kiss from any guy who comes in who is her type." I can't argue with the logic. I give her a kiss and walk towards the bar. I then realize the whole bar is watching. And the women have 50 note cards. They are scrambling the cards for whatever type of guy walks through the door. Tall. Black. In a suit, yep. Short Asian guy, yep. We watched for hours. She kissed every guy who walked through the door. Because oh my god, you're perfect. Edit, grammar. My girlfriend and I have been talking about getting married. Thanks a lot. Reddit. At the last bachelorette party that I went to, one of the girls brought one of those bachelorette party card games, where you draw a card and it tells you what kind of shenanigans you are supposed to get up to. There are things like kiss a red-headed guy, or dance with a virgin, and whatever. My card told me to get a stranger to give me his boxers. At the second bar, achieved my goal. I almost had someone at the first bar who was willing, but he told me he'd only give me his boxers if I gave him my underwear, and I wasn't wearing any. Second guy did it for nothing. Former limo driver here. Y'all girls need condoms. And on more than one bachelorette party, you all tip me handsomely to obtain them for you and keep my mouth shut. I knew 2 brides who banged guys the week of their wedding. I always made sure the groom's driver was told. I and the other drivers were subsequently fired from both of those companies. Pro tip, contrary to opinion, your limo driver does remember things because we're usually bored for 4 hours out of the 6 you hired us for. So don't hire the same company for your party that you do for your wedding. Darn. I must be really boring. My bachelorette party was to leave the girls and sneak into my groom's room through the window and jump his bones. Let's just say it was a sweet surprise. It was my sister's hen's party and we went on a stripper cruise. One of her good friends ended up ducking a stripper in the bathroom on the ship, then he gave her lines of coke after it. Okay, I'm confused now. Is a bachelorette party an excuse for a bride-to-be to cheat on their supposedly so? I work as a bouncer at nightclubs and one of them always hosts these parties. Crazy stuff is usually some girl-on-girl action or them trying to get with the male employees in the club. I think the best moment is always the game booklets they all seem to have. One of the questions is always how big is you big dig, and they ask all the male employees. It always ends up in being groped or getting a BJ behind closed doors. Was at a random bar when a bachelorette party showed up. Maid of honor brings me up on this small stage to dance with all of them. Got back down and they all thanked me for humoring them. Walked to the bathroom and noticed the maid of honor heading that way. Go to take a right to go into the men's room and the maid of honor pulls me left into the women's. We ended up having sex in one of the stalls. I still to this day thank God I always keep the condom in my wallet. My friend took some mushrooms and we went to a bar. He was tripping pretty hard and all of a sudden a bunch of women walk up to us. Bachelorette party. The bride-to-be asked my friend if she could have his underwear. Some kind of game, I guess. He just looked at her terrified and started laughing uncontrollably. They were very creeped out and walked away. It was awesome. Not a woman, but a bouncer at a club which has hosted numerous bachelorette parties. I've seen a ton of disgusting shit. Things that prove they are not ready for marriage. Because if you truly loved your husband/wife you would not even dream of cheating on them. Even when highly intoxicated. I've seen brides go home with other men. Making out with random guys. Groping. Getting ducked in bathroom stalls. And had a few even hit on me. It is truly disgusting. And as a person who is engaged, I, nor my fiance, would ever imagine doing half the shit they do. Went to a bachelorette party a few weeks ago. No one came even close to cheating on their but I did hike up my dress and pee in the middle of the sidewalk in downtown Cleveland. Classy. Not a raunchy story at all, but kind of funny. My buddies and I were just starting the evening of drinking on a road trip in a smallish town. I see a bachelorette party across the bar, a sports bar, not a nightclub. Now, we're still sober and we're not the bravest group of fellas. But I get the bright idea to make a $10 bet with my buddy that I could dance with the bride before the night is out. He takes the bet, banking on the fact that we'll probably lose them on our way over to one of the bars with a dance floor. Not 15 minutes later, the bride and mo come over to our table and the mo asks if we'd like to buy a sucker for $1. I quickly reply, I'll buy 2 suckers if the bride will dance with me. The look of defeat on my buddy's face. Words can't do it justice. I was a bartender at a gay bar in my younger years. There is a funny story about it if you dig in my comments. We had quite a few bachelorette parties that would be based in a private area. The groups would have a private bar and would go onto the main dance floor to dance with guys. At one, some of the girls decided they would try to turn us straight. 2 things here. 1, they assumed we were all gay. Only about half the men and male workers where I worked were gay. Secondly, why do people think they can turn homosexuals of both sexes straight? Anyway, these girls paid us to do body shots and started rubbing my and my partner's big dick. He was gay and reacted a bit, but was obviously not into it. I was young and single and she was hot. I got really turned on and she ended up blowing me. She was so proud to have got off a gay guy. I didn't tell her she didn't and we got tipped an absurd amount of money. Not a lady. I am a pretty big guy and a few years back a friend of mine was thinking about having a gag strip off for her bachelorette party. I was working as a pizza delivery guy and volunteered to help. I arrived there at about 8 because they acted like they ordered pizza. The woman in charge of the party put on right said Fred's I'm too sexy. And I burst through the door in my uniform with a pizza box and yelled, who ordered a large sausage? I spent the rest of the night as a DD and had a blast dancing at weird nightclubs. Kinda breaking the rules as I didn't see it but rather heard about it. Over here in a US where they're called hens, night strippers were hired and the bride-to-be got completely plastered and didn't remember anything. As it turns out 9 months later, with her Caucasian husband by her side, she gives birth to a black child. Coincidentally the same race as one of the strippers she disappeared with. They were divorced shortly afterwards. My friend and her friends had a male stripper come over to her place. I knew the girl who hosted, but not the bride or anyone else there. I thought that was fairly harmless until she showed me pictures of him standing around naked with his giant big dick, which was apparently hard the whole time he was there. When I saw a pic of girl with it in her mouth I'd had enough. WTF is that? Well damn. If it makes any guy feel better, the bachelorette party I was at included us getting a hotel room in Hollywood for a night, chilling at the pool, getting tipsy and eating good food in the room, attempting to go to a club where Nick Cannon was hosting, then realizing people clubbing in Hollywood are mostly silly and mostly unbearable. Returned to the room and talked about girl stuff and laughed our asses off till we fell asleep. I wouldn't trade that for any stripper in the world. It was a fun time. Not a lady, but me and some buddies ran into a big bachelorette party of Korean American girls in Vegas. Exchanged numbers with a few of them and went to get some late night grub. We texted, asked if they were hungry, and got the response, yes. 4 white boys. A few of them made it to our hotel. And upon arrival, they told us the bride-to-be had called it an early night and stayed in. Well, come to find out, the bride-to-be was actually the one giving me an ITPHJ in the hallway of New York at 5 AM. I'm sure her husband is proud. Friend of mine had a bachelorette party. Went to male strip club and proceeded to take one of the strippers home, to the house her and the fiancé lived in, to bang. Fiancé comes home the next morning only to find them in bed together. Apparently that was her way of telling him she wasn't sure about the marriage. She is a thundercunt. My wife went to Ireland for her hen party. A guy went up to her in front of all her friends and started chatting her up. He attempted to move the conversation to a kinky level and he asked her if she wants one more duck before married life. She punched him in the big dick. They all left. Man, I love her. At my oldest sister's bachelor party, I was 18 and the only one not drinking. I was trying to be cool because I was the youngest one there. They were super drunk, being loud all night, and grabbing the strippers whenever they came by. The best part was when one of my sister's friends got up on stage, took off her pants like she was going to join in the strip show, and then squatted down and peed. It was hilarious to me at the time, especially because the guy who brought out the mop seemed so unfazed by it. A good friend of mine had a drink spilled on her at my bachelorette party. The guy was weird, but brought her over another drink since he had ruined hers. Anyway, turns out the guy roofied her drink. We didn't know it at the time. Tried to roofie mine, bought me a drink that I had no intention of drinking because he was a creep, and swarmed around all the girls at my party for the rest of the night until I finally convinced security to kick him out. Thankfully there were a ton of really nice guys there that kept him away from us and helped us to watch our ridiculously drunk friend.